He got Omi to depend on him, he told secrets to Omi, he made Omi feel really special, and he really challenged Omi to be a better warrior, something that he's not getting from his friends. It's almost kind of like a cheating scenario, or an abusive scenario, especially with Chase Young essentially grooming Omi into this relationship. It doesn't feel like it's natural, it feels like it to mold him into something he wants. So there's a lot of Chase Young events that have led up to this. So Chase Young has just entered in Season 2, Episode 11, Master Monk Guan. In short, this episode was about the monks meeting a famous Xiaolin warrior that is revealed to have a backstory with Chase Young. It's his introduction episode. He walks in with red eyes as his first time in the series, and he's a very charming guy. Nothing about his actions have seen evil so far. He just seems to be the Prince of Darkness, and that's okay for him. The monks and Chase Young don't really get to connect. It just essentially feels like it might be this Monster of the Week episode, but this guy is here to stay. Chase Young is a lot more important than we know yet. Then he comes back again in Season 2, Episode 12, when Jack takes Clay, who is possessed by this evil Habini. He takes him to Chase Young to essentially try to get closer to him, and it's really cute that Jack really wants a relationship with this guy because he's so cold and silent. And then there's moments where Jack actually audibly like disrespects Chase Young. He's like, whoa, why would you do something for somebody else? Like, how are you evil and also doing good things? Like, it's almost like an insult to Jack. Chase Young basically visits Omi for the first time one-on-one. It's actually really cool. Like, it's not just them having a conversation, it's like them like physically altercating. He essentially like vets Omi, and it almost feels like really inappropriate because this is like an older man just coming to talk to a child. One of the first things Chase says is that you have to use your strength against someone.
When fighting an opponent with superior strength, you must use his strength against him.
Why are you teaching me your tricks?
Teaching is the only true path to learning.
Like, why is he taking the time to tell Omi this? It's already red flag. Chase Young is really interesting in comparison to Master Feng because we're kind of confused at how strong Master Feng really is. Like, we know he's a Shaolin warrior, but we don't hear anything about his past. Like, so far we only know Master Monk Guan's past as another Shaolin warrior, and that's just like, it's like weird. Like, why is the main character have the most vague background? Like, Master Feng is almost taking backseat to even Chase Young at this point. For me, it was always like a wonder of like, who is stronger? Like, can Master Feng protect the kids against Chase Young? Like, how much strength do they have against each other? And I like that we don't technically get that close. I mean, we do in Xiaolin Chronicles, but let's not talk about that right now. Chase being so elusive with when he chooses to be violent is just so interesting. Turns out Chase Young's advice actually helps Omi solve the problem of the episode and help his friend Kimiko win a Xiaolin Showdown. Then Chase straight up tells him,
Let's just say I did one small thing for you. One day, maybe you can return the favor.
Insinuating that like he wants something in return. Like, there's something going on and I just really want to know what it is. But I consider that like second episode in the Chase Young saga. There's about like 2 or 3 episodes in between where we don't see Chase and we're back to the normal Xiaolin Showdown hijinks. Feels almost kind of like filler, but you know, the whole show is filler. It's not Naruto. Like, things don't usually carry over in episodes, but right now it's cool that one thing does. Chase comes back for his second really intense episode and actually helps Jack Spicer this time. Basically, Jack is tired of losing to the Shaolin monks like literally all the time. He's so incompetent, and Chase entering the show just makes Jack just completely look like a goofball. Like, Jack was a little threatening before, like he had some plans, like some things worked out, he had a lot of wins, and then suddenly he's in the presence of Chase Young and it's like, oh, this is what actual evil is. The cinematography of Chase Young with the shadow is really cool, and Chase essentially tries to bond with an evil villain because he's only really bonded with Omi, and Omi is a good person. So seeing 2 evil people interact with each other, like still kind of working in each other's best interest, it's so complicated. Chase watches from a distance and he's actually hanging out with Wuya, which is almost kind of random. We never like actually explain why Chase and Wuya are hanging out now. And this is the second episode. Like, the last episode, Wuya was with Jack the whole time. Now suddenly she's just hanging out with Chase Young. It's interesting. The way she like cowers to Chase Young is so funny too, because it's like she's so demanding and dominant with Jack Spicer, but then every time she's around Chase Young, she's just like groveling at his feet, which is so fun to like see a new side of Wuya in that sense. Like, she's such a dynamic character. In the end, it turns out that Chase Young was actually using this entire episode and Jack Spicer as a diversion as he collected the Eagle Scope, and that's how we know something's going down. The 3rd/4th episode he comes in is the New Order. Jack actually overpowers Chase, which is a really interesting premise. To see that Jack can actually put up with Chase for a second. It makes Chase look a little bit weaker, but it's still cool. The entire episode is Jack essentially having all of Chase Young's powers, like what it would be like if Jack had Chase Young's privilege. He literally did one thing right, and now he's running Chase's castle, which is cool because, you know, Jack Spicer always wanted to be the Prince of Darkness. In this episode, it's interesting because Omi almost misses having Chase Young as an enemy, and Jack Spicer is kind of more of a threat because he's just so ignorant. This gets Omi to really start to respect Chase Young, because quickly drill Omi about even siding with the villains for a second. Like, they're like, okay, no, both of them are bad, they're bad people, and that's when the seed is planted. That's inevitably brought back in this 3-part special. Omi officially returns Chase Young's favor by freeing him from Jack and going behind the monk's back to actually help Chase. And Chase does another nice thing for Omi by keeping suspicion under wraps.
Hey, how did Chase get out?
What's going on? Well, you see, I came here to,
Take back the Shengang Wu.
What?
I challenge you to a Xiaolin Showdown.
But
I wager the...
And suddenly these two have a secret together. The distance is felt between Omi and the monks, and the seeds are getting planted and planted. And even at the end of the episode, as they leave Chase, Raymundo straightforward confronts Omi and is like, "No, you wouldn't help Chase. It's not like he's a good guy."
Yeah, it's not like you ever did anything for him.
I'm gonna have to go a little bit faster because I can't go through everything. We find out that Chase Young is actually looking to have an apprentice. Like, he wants to be somebody's master, and that's really interesting because of course Jack's gonna want to do that. I never thought of Chase Young as somebody who would train someone, but it's really cool to see him at Master Feng's level. In the end, it turns out that Cat Nappe is the one who gets the apprentice, and she does a bad job just as much as Jack. And then we just see Chase Young for like literally a second where he says,
oh, is he ready to join us?
Not yet, but soon. He has just tasted evil. In time, he will learn to crave it.
Because you are all my friends. I could never lie to my friends.
he's proud of Omi for learning to lie so much. Like, literally, he tricked Omi into telling his first lie, and then he's watching Omi and grooming him to enjoy lying. Oof, this is dark. Even the comedic scene at the end where they're all playing cards shows that Omi is now officially a liar, which he never was before, and it's just funny to see that character change. Then in the next episode, we see Chase Young actually training Germain, one of Omi's old friends, to be a Shaolin monk. It's cool that there's this little side plot of Chase Young trying to get an apprentice, or trying to find like somebody that he can trust on the evil side, and it's like he knows it's gonna be Omi, and like, why is he giving Jack Spicer a chance, Cat Nappe? It's like, even Germain, like, it's like he's so obsessed with Omi, and he gets closer to the people that are closer to him, and it's creepy. In the end, Chase Young is kind of smirking about this whole situation, and is like, how do you know this didn't go exactly as I planned? I'm like, come on, Chase, this can't, what, you couldn't have planned something that specific. Dangerous Minds, the episode right before this 3-part special, is the 6th episode of the Chase Young saga, and it officially is taken up a notch. The events of this 3-part episode are suddenly really apparent in this episode. Like, we get a scene or two in every one that is leading to us believing that Chase Young is trying to teach Omi to be a certain way, but it's a real turning point now for a problem. Basically, the world is going to end, and good and evil have to work together to save the world so that way they could be, you know, like, it's the one time that everybody's on the same page and has the same goal, which is really fun, because then we see Omi and Chase Young bonding in a way that is so inappropriate. and they have the boundary of their belief system taken out of this. Like, they both believe they should save the world. Like, neither of them are believing in good or evil. They're just believing they have to save the world, which gives them a chance to get so close. And then Omi feels so connected to Chase Young. It's like Chase Young is just controlling him completely.
You really should be more careful who you trust.
That seems only to be a problem when I trust you.
Chase and Omi have a moment alone where Chase actually suggests the solution to the problem by combining the Eagle Scope and the Fountain of Wi. And if you remember the Eagle Scope, Chase basically helped Jack attack the temple, and in return, the distraction allowed him to get the Eagle Scope. So this is actually a part of Chase's plan, and that was like a really small detail of it. Here, when he tells Omi he has the Eagle Scope, Omi is immediately like, oh, I have the Fountain of Wi. And next thing you know, yep, they have to work one-on-one together. They bond so well, and it's so stressful. The one main important thing you need to take away from this episode, besides the Eagle Scope,
You must give your word as a Shaolin warrior only to look for a way to destroy the spiders, and not evil.
Chase Young essentially tells Omi that he will see the secret to destroying evil, and that he cannot go through it with Omi unless Omi promises not to tell anyone. Ooh, and that's when it gets really intense, bringing us essentially to... Now this one's really interesting because we get to see full-on evil Omi. Yeah, like, it's uncomfortable. The wardrobe, it's cool, but it's uncomfortable to say the least. He's a little more scrappier, kind of like Scrappy-Doo, and just essentially wants to fight. Like, evil Omi there doesn't seem to be a side of Omi that is realistically a selfish person or inherently wanting to do bad things. So when he lost his good self and began to work with Chase stops him and basically asks him to swear his loyalty to him. Omi doesn't think about it, he just does.
You must swear to me your loyalty.
I do swear my loyalty to you. Now can we fight?
And suddenly he is completely controlled by Chase Young, and in such a convoluted way that it wasn't just taking a Shengang Wu, putting it on, and controlling Omi. No, it's deeper than that. Like, he formed a relationship with Omi.